Epidemics don't come from nowhere. They're started by something, or someone. And many people argue that someone, the companies who made the drugs in the first place.
How much responsibility do the manufacturers of opioids bear for this crisis?
Quite a bit.
Bob Ferguson, Attorney General for the state of Washington, has brought a lawsuit against Purdue Pharma. They're the manufacturers of OxyContin, a popular opioid.
There's a lot of accountability for them, not just for producing that OxyContin, but the way in which they deceptively promoted their product by indicating to doctors that it was not especially addictive, when in fact we know quite the opposite is the case.
The opioid epidemic broke out in the early 2000s. In the 90s, Purdue was marketing their new product, OxyContin, to doctors. Ferguson says they sold it as a safe way to treat chronic pain with a low risk of addiction or overdose. This, he says, despite the fact that they had almost no evidence to prove it.
And in Washington state, you cannot be deceptive about the way you market your products, any product.
Even more striking, when faced with addicted patients demanding more and more drugs from their doctors, Purdue didn't waver in their claims. Instead, Ferguson says, they recommended doctors prescribe even higher doses.
They even called it pseudo-addiction, as if it wasn't really addiction these individuals were suffering from, but actually pain.
But the manufacturers are just one player in the epidemic. The AG has also brought a separate lawsuit against 3 companies known as distributors. They're the ones who actually provide doctors with the drugs. They're some of the most profitable companies in the world. These companies, the suit argues, are responsible for allowing overprescription.
Literally, there are about a dozen counties in our state, many of them in eastern Washington, where these distributors sent more prescriptions, again, not pills, prescriptions, than there were people in those counties. That's breathtaking in the extreme.
The Federal Drug Enforcement Administration mandates that distributors keep track of suspicious orders of opioids and stop the shipments before they go out. They didn't, and the DEA has repeatedly fined them for it.
They flooded these communities with opioids, and the harm that individuals and families are suffering from. I've spoken to too many families about this. It's heartbreaking.
The number of opioid addictions that begin with prescription pills is decreasing as more and more people are going straight to heroin. Nonetheless, Ferguson says his suit remains critical.
What these companies did is undefensible. They need to be held accountable.
The suit demands penalties from the companies, all the profits they've made off opioids in Washington. Ferguson wants to redirect that money to stopping the epidemic. For their part, the companies deny wrongdoing. Purdue, the manufacturer, said in a statement, quote, Purdue Pharma vigorously denies the allegations in the lawsuit and will continue to defend itself against these misleading attacks. The state cannot link the conduct alleged to the harm described. McKesson, one of the distributors, declined to comment on this suit, but said in a statement, quote, we are deeply concerned by the impact the opioid epidemic is having on families and communities across our nation. The other distributors did not respond to requests for comment.